of everything that's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. Like, this whole thing is a mess. It is a mess. Now, Juneteenth, 2026, a day of activism or observance, which I find interesting. Juneteenth has been recognized officially since 2021. I remember going to a Juneteenth celebration back in 1988. So it's been celebrated for a long time, because my girlfriend, she was actually from Houston, Texas. And so she introduced me to it. So I've known about it for, decades now, but I just find it interesting how it can look like a day of activism or observance. You know what? We should respectfully go, wow, this is a good commemorative day to say, you know what? This is when we know slavery was shut down, at least being recognized as shut down. Now, there's still the opinion out there that if it's truly gone, why is it still on the 13th Amendment? And why is it disproportionately used against people, right? So that they can have slave labor in prisons. But that's a whole nother sidebar conversation for another time. Now, in Tennessee, they're requiring proof of citizenship, English proficiency to obtain a driver's license. Shocker. They should. What are we talking about? If you are not a citizen of this country, no, you shouldn't be driving here. You shouldn't be driving here. But that's what they're doing. And then what's in the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, we'll find out later. Hopefully they'll actually get to the table to sign it, because my goodness, it is the worst. It's almost like somebody who doesn't know how to drive a stick shift. And if you've ever driven with somebody who does not know how to drive a stick shift, it's just that jerking back and forth. To me, that's what this seems like. And then this really sad headline is police shoot a 1-year-old in Mississippi during a shoplifting investigation. Shoplifting and a 1-year-old loses their life. It's just, we live in a chaotic world, and these are the things we need to pray about, and these are the topics that I'm bringing out to you guys. So, because I know there's some prayer warriors out there, and you are exactly who we need. Now, the next thing I did want to get into, I wanted to get into what Tulsi Gabbard had dropped on the 18th, which was Thursday. And it was interesting, on her way out, bomb dropped on Fauci, right? So I wanted everybody to look at his grant of clemency by President Biden, right? And it says, for any offenses against the United States. Okay, wow. So that's all of us, right? Which he may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014, through the date of this pardon, which would have been January 19th or 20th of 2025. Okay, because it was done literally the day of the day before the inauguration, which was really interesting. Or in any manner related to his service as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which you'll hear the NIAID. You'll hear that name in concert with him. As a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, which we know he was a part of that in 2020, or the White House COVID-19 response team, or as chief medical advisor to the president. The one thing I didn't see in here, and I'm not sure if it was going to be covered, was the NIH, which he was over, the National Institute of Health. I didn't see that mentioned here, but in my opinion, for them to outline these specific tasks or institutes that he was over during that time, I'm like, okay, you listed these, but did you really list all of them, right? So here's his letter from the president. Here's what everyone is having a fit about, because they're not sure if it was actually signed by Biden or if it was autopenned. Those are still questions that a lot of people have and are bringing up. Now, I also wanted to bring up his pardon, right, that was done. And this was done on, let me scroll up, January 19th, 2025. So I said right before that. And you notice that the Biden family, Francis, James, Sarah, John T., and Valerie, they also were pardoned on 2014 till the day. I was like, why was 2014 the magic number? It was weird, right? Because that was during Barack's presidency. Biden was the vice president at that time. So why that year? That's what's really interesting to me. So it says for any offenses. So pretty much this right here follows the letter, right? But again, the NIH was not mentioned. And the reason why I keep bringing up the NIH is because it was a part of the Wuhan virus that was talked about. Not only was he the director of the NIAID, he was also over the NIH, but the NIH isn't in here. So was he pardoned for that or was he not? Because you listed these all specifically, but you didn't mention that one. Again, what I find fascinating. Okay, so here is what Tulsi Gabbard had mentioned. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Hopefully that helps. So it says, before the COVID-19 pandemic, Anthony Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, provided millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentable lab leak that sparked the pandemic. So this is kind of like the cornerstone of this is what happened, right? Because a lot of people were like, when did this happen? Why did this happen? But the other word about this is the gain of function. Now, if anybody remembers, everybody was like, yeah, this gain of function. And he specifically told Congress, no, there was not any gain of function research, which I find interesting. And this is why I find it interesting, but you guys can go back and read this letter. For the sake of time, I'm just going to go back to a little bit of digging that I did. And I said, can a pardon be reversed if the White House was part of the crime? No. A presidential pardon generally cannot be reversed, even if the White House or the president was involved or complicit in the underlying crime. The reason why I asked that, because like I said, 2014, Biden was the vice president. So what did he know? When did he know it? Right? Now, I said that the question is reference to Fauci and the Autopen. Also, what did the Biden administration know, and was there a cover-up? Yes, this refers to the Biden preemptive pardon. Okay, that was pretty much my question, right? It was a broad pardon covering any potential federal offenses from January of 2014 onward. Again, a weird date related to Fauci's role at the NIAID, the White House Coronavirus Task Force, or as a chief medical advisor. Again, very specific, very narrow, but again, didn't talk about the NIH. Okay. So we're going on, moving on. I did have another question. I know I had all these questions. I said, I find it strange that the pardon went back to 2014. There wasn't a pandemic then. Why is it dated back to 2014? So the 2014 start date for Fauci's pardon was chosen to broadly cover his oversight of the NIAID and NIH funding decisions related to gain-of-function research, particularly grants involving EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, issues that predate COVID-19 pandemic by years. So what was going on? Did y'all know that you were going to drop this? Did you know? Right? What did you know? And again, 2014, in my opinion, very random, but then very specific. So in October 2014, the Obama administration, via the White House of Science and Technology, imposed a moratorium pause on U.S. government funding for certain gain-of-function research on potential pandemics.